Welcome back to more Necrobarista. I do apologize, it's been a little bit, but I took a little bit of a break, personal reasons and all that. But now I'm back, and I'm more than excited to get back into this. Rise and shine. Don't wanna. You shouldn't waste your last hours on Earth sleeping. Whoever said I'll have plenty of time to sleep when I'm dead probably had a different idea of how things would play out after death. Man, I was hoping that I was having a really long, weird dream. Sorry, no such luck. Some more pedantic magical practitioners are quite bothered by flippant and colloquial use of the word luck. Che is not one of them. Man, I'm still having trouble getting my head around it. No, I totally understand. Want a coffee? Yeah. Just something simple. Hipster coffee coming right up. What's going on downstairs? I didn't even know you even had it downstairs. Well, there's more to this place than meets the eye. Maddie's down there, desperately trying to fix our debt situation. Sounds like she's hosting a cage match or something. Well, not exactly. But she's mentioned wanting to do that. There's some wrestler called the Red Comet that she wouldn't stop talking about for a while. And then because of that, Ashley got obsessed with wrestling for a bit and kept trying to suplex me. Ashley's small, so she has to opt for wrestling moves that control the opponent's weight instead of trying to lift them. Did she manage to? She's tiny. Couple of times. It was very humiliating. I can imagine. But to properly answer your question, Maddie's running a gambling ring. When you find yourself standing on the brink of death, a wager could be a chance to salvation, or the last chance to feel danger. Both of these appeal to different types of patrons. Downstairs? All by herself? It's a fairly unconventional one. And by unconventional, you mean mortals generally aren't involved. The stakes are higher than usual. Oh. Now I'm intrigued. You can't just say that stuff and then, like, you know, not go into it. Coffee's ready. Come over and get it. So the one thing that's annoying in this game is that I don't know when I have to press the enter button to advance text. Like right now, it's a black screen. I'm assuming it's a loaded screen. It's probably not. It's not. It's not. It's not. But I kind of wish it would kind of auto continue sometimes until the next text bubble. Like I get wanting to linger on scenes. It's nice, but it's also kind of frustrating sometimes. They gamble for time, among other things. You don't sound like you're a huge fan of the idea. I'm not. It's undignified. I mean, as long as Maddie's not in danger, shouldn't it be fine? The council doesn't like it. They turn a blind eye because we don't cause trouble otherwise. But I'd rather not have to worry about bad things coming our way. Because Maddie refuses to approach the problem from a different angle. And by the problem, you mean the debt, yeah? I was pretty drunk, but I think I remember Maddie storming off after Ned turned up. Yes. I'm a bit worried about her, not gonna lie. I wish I could help. You all seem pretty nice. The thought's appreciated. Maddie will figure it out eventually, though, I'm sure. She just needs time. Time is one thing she does not have, though. We could figure out anything if we had enough time. But, you know, time is ever fleeting and always ticking forward. Time waits for no man or woman. Hey, thanks for the coffee, by the way. I just realized you haven't actually made me pay for a bunch of them. How do you expect to pay for them? Oh, right. Yep, no cash. If I were feeling particularly capricious, I'd ask you to pay in time. But you're a nice kid, and you need every minute you got. Want to head downstairs? I can see your eyes darting to the stairs. I'm not going down, but I'm also not going to stop you. Yeah, if that's okay. Go on then. I'll stick around up here. I mean, how could we not? Catch you in a bit. Man, this game is so fun. I mean, not fun in a sense that, oh, I like playing it. The story is intriguing. The stairs that led down to the basement were solid and well worn, with smooth ruts on each step and a handrail that's been polished to a silky sheen through years of use. Keyshawn has always liked stairwells. People never lingered in them for long, and he'd found them to be a good place to catch a breather. He wasn't obsessed with them. I mean, there's a stairway. That'd be weird, right? But he definitely appreciated a nice set of stairs. I'm sure we can all appreciate a nice set of stairs. On further reflection, it was probably a little weird. Downstairs, Maddie's audience clamored for blood, even the dead find blood sports compelling. From you to me, with the understanding that your remaining moments on this plane are limited, you surrender this time freely without coercion as agreed. Contract fulfilled. You're free to go. Everything comes at a price. Nothing risked, nothing gained. Whew. That's a knife. That's 3 in a row, you bloodthirsty bastards. Crowd cheered. Maddie was clearly an expert at winding them up in a frenzy. Who's next? The room fell dead silent. Come on, is anyone here brave enough to challenge me? I thought you came here to play with knives, you pansies. Seriously? Anyone? Anyone at all? Bueller? Don't hold out on me. Do I need to pick someone out from the crowd, then? Is that what we came to? Maddie's gaze swept the audience. Maddie's a little more demented than it would seem. A little crazy. Keyshawn, good to see you upright. Interested in a game of skill? Me? Yes, you. Oh, sure. Give me some enthusiasm, my man. Sure. What's the game? 5-finger fillet. It sounds just as good as you imagine it is. Some of the people here just call it the knife game. You heard of it? Oh. Finally, something I'm good at. Ooh. He's played it before. I've seen you play Knife and Spoony before. It's not a knife, that's a spoon. You've got a lot of knives in this place. Tell me about it. Now here we go. Now we're getting good. Now the game is getting good. Damn, this thing has a good weight to it. Of course. I wouldn't make you compete with an inferior tool. Huh. What? Sorry, I was waiting for you to segue into calling me an inferior tool. Shit, that was low-hanging fruit, wasn't it? Next time, mate. Sure. Keyshawn did another experimental slash, and this time it made an audible whoosh. The spectators oohed and awed. But this wasn't for them. Oh no. He knew that he only had one shot to get accustomed to the blade. Done showing off? Nothing wrong with putting on a little show, is there? Sounds like you're stalling for time. Getting cold feet, perhaps? Not a chance. Let's get started then. You know what you're wagering? Jay mentioned something about you gambling with time. Ugh, it's not gambling if it's a game of skill. No, it is gambling if it's a game of skill. It's still gambling. But that's beside the point. We're both wagering 4 hours. If you win, it comes from the cafe's balance. If I win, it comes from yours. You've got around 16 hours left, in case you weren't keeping track. Good, I was kind of wondering how long we had here. Shit, only that many? Want a little extra time to play with then? Hell yes! Let's stop wasting it and get this over with. You sure you know what you're getting into? Most people are pretty shy about playing with the time they have left, especially with their tanks running as empty as yours. Yep, come on, let's do this. Unless you're getting cold feet. Hardly. You've got 30 seconds. Smack the timer when you're ready. Oh, that's the game. The crowd cheered and Kishan fed off their enthusiasm. In response, Maddie leaned back and tapped her finger on the table, feigning impatience. He met her eyes, grinned, and continued his performance. His stabbing motion got faster as he went, to the point narrowly missing each of his fingers. Stabs, strong enough to drive the knife a millimeter or two into the table, were good if he wanted to put on a show. And of course, giving the spectators a show was part of the fun. You might be going fast enough to put on a show, but you're not going fast enough to win. How'd I do? 16 sets if I counted correctly. Whoa. I couldn't do 16. That's how many Maddie beat me with. Is she gonna lose? Nah, she's gonna kick his arse. Feeling good about the result? Certainly am. Rightio then. Watch closely. Oh, I will. 16. One. 3. 7. 11. 15. She lost. He gets 4 more hours. Told you she's... Wait, no, she won? Wait, I thought he had 16. Is it magic? She could cheat if she wanted to. Definitely not. She's just that good. Poor guy didn't know what he was getting into. Sorry, mate. He beat me fair and square. I'm pretty impressed. I aim to please. I'll be taking those hours now, if you don't mind. Yeah, sure. How does this work? Just like this? You won't feel a thing. Ishan felt a brief tightness on his chest, and for just a moment the tip of Maddie's finger burned white hot. Can't beat entropy. Anytime you do an energy transfer, there's gonna be some amount of energy lost to heat. Oh, shit! Someone in the crowd laughed. Sorry, I lied. It's done now, though. Alright, does anyone else dare to compete with me? Come on, looking for some actual decent opposition here. I'll take any challenge, even if it's chess or something. Any challenge? I challenge you. To get everyone a drink. Rounds on me. I didn't realize you were watching. There wasn't anything happening upstairs and I got bored. Right. So. You took some hours from Kishan, huh? Yes, I did. Feel good about that? Shay. Do you? I won them fair and square. He didn't know what he was getting into. There's an obvious power imbalance here that you're exploiting. Shay isn't one to let you forget the responsibilities that come with power. He knew the rules. That doesn't change anything. You led him to believe that he'd get some extra time. Maddie knows firsthand how seductive the promise of extra time can be. And, barring a miracle on his part, that absolutely was not going to happen. It doesn't matter. He's just passing through. A couple hours won't make any difference. Maddie, I'm disappointed in you. Our patrons respect us. We need to earn that respect by treating them with respect ourselves. This is not respectful or dignified. Cheating vulnerable passers through out of their time, we're above that. We're better than that. I don't care whether you think it's dishonest or not. I want you to give that poor man his time back. Don't pout, this is serious. God, I feel like a broken record saying this. While I understand your intentions are good, you can't keep doing these things. It's all for you. If you really want to do this for me, find another way. This isn't worth it, Maddie. It breaks my heart to see you like this, and I know that you're trying your hardest. But this really, truly is not worth sacrificing your own self-respect for. Everyone here respects you. But you gambling with hours just cheapens that. I'll give the hours back. Shame, I was pretty great with the knife. Still not as good as me. Yeah, I was pretty close. Okay, so he gets his hours back. That's good. So he's still got roughly 16 hours or so. It's gonna happen when it's like his hours go away. I mean, he's only like less than a day. And he's gonna have to move on eventually. Achievement unlocked. Rise and shine. And the loading screen. Oh. Lovelace. Yes. What form did you have before being reborn? I think I was a crab. Come on, I'm being serious. I actually wouldn't harvest spirit liquid from a crab. You're assuming an awful lot about how squeamish she is. As far as I can remember, I lived above streets next to the sky. So a bird then? Wings and feathers and such? No, not that. I do remember flying though. Oh, were you a sugar glider? Describe? Did you eat insects and tree sap and flower nectar? That is familiar. Wonder how I actually found you then. Could have been anything really. You mentioned bright lights earlier. Oof. Yeah, I'm thinking you got hit by a car. That sucks. That seems likely. Is it that bad? I mean, you're here now, so... whether you like it or not. Shut up. I am still adjusting. So those robots were once other things in their past lives, and are they robots or are they? I'm not quite sure. Okay. I still don't get what this is. Suplex. You know what? Let's do contract. I don't know if this like changes parts of the story or what. I'm not quite sure. Magic. The terminal. Death. J. The terminal again. Extra time, Maddie. White hot magic. Continue. I think if you get like do enough of those, you unlock things maybe, perhaps. I'm not entirely sure. And I do apologize for not knowing. I could look it up, but then I feel like I might spoil some of the game. And I don't want that. I'm enjoying it. I hate when games get spoiled. Okay, now we can walk around. There's the knives. Man standing in front of Beth smirked. The knife. He seemed... Okay, we could... Ah! You do unlock things. Okay, unlock. Let's go, little girl. The man standing in front of Beth smirked. The knife he held seemed almost slight compared to his massive hands, but that didn't make it any less intimidating. Finish this one quick, came a call from behind the knife holder. 3 men stood behind him wearing expressions which ranged from amused to bored. Beth felt her palm get sweaty and loosened her grip on the knife in her right hand, sliding her thumb along the guard to reassure herself that its shape hadn't changed since the moment she'd picked it up. Take your friend's advice, Beth said to the man who was menacing her. Finish this quick. After all, I'm just a little girl. Well, as little as any 15-year-old girl could be. Can do, said the man, and he drew his knife up from an overhead swing. The man's movement suggested that he didn't know how to use a knife. Not really. He was swinging the knife like he'd swing a fist. Like he was trying to bludgeon her with it. Like he'd never really used a knife before. He was stupid. Mercifully stupid. She tried to reassure herself of that fact, trying not to lose her resolve. He lunged toward her as he brought the knife down, and Beth raised her left arm. She felt the edge of the knife hit her skin, but the impact of the blow caused the man to lose his grip on the knife. An opening. Beth grabbed the attacker's knife arm and pulled him towards her while thrusting her own knife towards him at chest level. She drove the knife into the man's chest with all the force she could muster. He fell to the ground and gasped as Beth released her grip on him. The man lay on the ground and put a hand to his chest, moaning. Son of a bitch! Doing okay down there? Said Beth. The man sat up and patted his chest. I didn't expect to lose to a girl. No, said the man. Well, that too, but I didn't expect it to hurt this much. These rubber practice knives are no joke, said Beth. If I'd stabbed any harder, I might have broken a rib. The man stood up. Got a name, girl? You can call me Beth, she said, extending a hand. He shook it with a look of hesitation. I'm Kyle. I've got to say, Beth, that was kind of a cheap trick. How do you mean? Said Beth. I mean the way you blocked my knife with your arm. I just bounced right off. You couldn't do that if you were using real knives. He's right, said one of the spectators. Not really a fair fight with rubber knives. I'd like a rematch, said Kyle. Yeah, said one of the spectators. Rematch. The others began chanting along with them. Rematch, rematch, rematch. A voice thundered from above. I thought I told you guys to keep it down. Everyone spun around to face the stairs leading up to the ground floor. Maddie was leaning over the railing of the staircase with a stern look on her face. She tapped a poster on the wall. Beth took a moment to glance at the sign. Fight Club rules. 1. Don't quote Tyler Durden. Haha. 2. Seriously, no Tyler Durden quotes. And 3. Always assume your opponent is mortal. Practice weapons only. 4. Be considerate to other guests. Keep noise to a reasonable level. We don't have any rules here, said Maddie. Please don't make me kick you out of the basement. Everyone else in the room cast their gaze downward, looking ashamed, which several mumbled apologies. Maddie nodded and climbed back up the stairs, content that she had made her point. Seriously though, said Kyle. Not really a fair fight without real knives. Beth walked over to the edge of the room and lifted a rug, revealing 2 steak knives. Several whispers erupted from the small crowd. Where'd you get these? asked Kyle. I swiped them from upstairs, said Beth. They're not exactly combat gear, but these blades are fit to cut through flesh, whether it's a cooked steak or a human arm. Beth held one of the steak knives by the blade, presenting its handle to Kyle. We've already broken one rule tonight. How about breaking another one? I won't get hurt, said Kyle. I mean, I can still feel the pain, but you know. I'm not afraid of getting stabbed. Oh, neither am I, said Beth. But don't say you're ready for this if you're not ready to bleed. She turned the knife over in her hands, pressing her thumb against the tip just enough to draw a single drop of blood. Kyle grinned. Do I look like I would be here if I was afraid to die? Good question. Interesting. Okay, so we're unlocking... Ooh. Billiards. We can unlock billiards. Yeah, might as well. We don't have much stuff. We don't have much stuff to unlock. We'll read some story. You know, kid, you got style. Brad perked up. It was the first unsolicited remark he'd heard from old man Thomas all night. He'd been expecting a compliment after beating Thomas, but to hear that kind of comment after a loss made him perk right up. Thanks, said Brad. It wasn't a compliment, said Thomas. And just like that, Brad's mood came crashing down. Thomas continued. All the best players back in the day, none of them had style. Style doesn't win tournaments. Sure, said Brad. Consistency is what wins tournaments. Consistency doesn't mean anything, said Thomas. That's a symptom of skilled play. It's not a thing you can just decide on. No one sits down at a table thinking, gee, I better be consistent today. Nobody. So if you're not thinking about consistency, what are you thinking about? Fundamentals. Thomas chalked the end of his cue. Fundamentals are what matters most, because if you don't get the fundamentals right, all the fancy shit isn't gonna matter. Thomas leaned down toward lining up his cue. The straightened shot is your specialty. Several opponents told me that exactly that, tongue-in-cheek, thinking that they were insulting me, but I take it as a compliment. If you control the cue ball, you can turn any shot into a chip shot. That's what you want to do. That's how I can still sink them even at my old age. I know, I've been watching you, said Brad. Your cue ball control is incredible. You're a very talented player. Not talented, said Thomas. You can do it too. The question is whether you've got the discipline and the patience. Thomas followed through with his stroke and hit the apex of the triangle head on. He sank 2 balls, one striped and one solid. He pointed at the striped one, signifying his choice. I'm plenty disciplined, said Brad. When I was in high school, I'd come out every day after school, put in at least 4 hours of practice. Sometimes I'd come in after dinner to squeeze in a few hours more. Then on the weekends, I'd come and spend all day up here. Of course you did, said Thomas. All the pros have. Anyone can put in time. At a certain point, what matters can't be the number of hours you put in, because everyone puts in the time. What matters is how you use the time. And it seems like you spend a lot of time practicing trick shots. Thomas lined up and made several practice strokes. Brad found himself getting annoyed with Thomas. Brad knew better than to try to talk to Thomas while he was lining up a shot. That was bad etiquette and just bad sportsmanship, plain and simple. You know, don't distract someone when they're trying to play the game. But it kept him from offering timely retorts to Thomas's statements. It was bad sportsmanship, Brad decided to talk at the opponent in a situation where etiquette forbade him from responding. Thomas finally took the shot and sunk a solid colored ball, but a bad bounce put the cue in the pocket with it. Brad sighed with relief as he took control of the ball, and with it control of the conversation. "You're right, it does take a lot of practice." Brad lined up a shot, aiming at one of the balls in the opposite corner. If he could get the angle just right, he took the shot, and the cue ball knocked one of the striped balls into the back left pocket before ricocheting and hitting another ball into the back right pocket, a clean double. Brad tapped the table with his cue as if to emphasize the shot he just made. "You don't learn to do shit like this overnight." "That's a nice trick," said Thomas. "Now can you do the same thing 10 times in a row without messing it up?" "No," said Brad. "A hard shot. About a 10%er for most people. But I'm good. I can get it 30, 40%. A 30% shot isn't worth taking," said Thomas. "If I offered you a coin flip bet with a weighted coin, would you take it?" "No, of course not," said Brad. "And yet you take the low percentage shot." "I make it a higher percentage shot, though," said Brad. "Yes, and I'm sure that you look like a big hero by doing it, and when you miss, no one calls you out on it because defensive shots are boring," said Thomas. "I can play defensively," said Brad. "But you don't win games by playing defensively." "Of course not," said Thomas. "There's nothing on the scoreboard that lets you tabulate the places where you denied your opponent a point." Brad was angry now, and he began lining up his next shot just so that he wouldn't have to hear the old man talk. Some players might get tilted in a situation like this, but Brad played better when he was emotional. Whatever it was that made him play better under pressure also made him play better while angry. He couldn't even think about the shots he was making. He was operating on pure instinct and conscious thought. The thought that was chased away by anger was only a distraction. Brad tried for another double. He missed the second ball, but one was enough to set him up for a triple bank shot, which he followed with another shot that he put a spin on. He didn't even need to curve the ball around anything. He just wanted to show Thomas that he could do it reliably. Fortunately, he didn't get punished for it. His last shot placed one of Thomas's balls between the black 8 ball and the white cue ball. Brad knew that he could sink the shot easily by hitting Thomas's solid into his stripe, but he was on fire and he wanted something flashy. He struck the cue ball's base, driving the leather tip of his stick into the table, and it bounced the ball up and over Thomas's ball, hitting his own and sending it into the pocket. Brad turned to Thomas with a look of defiance. "Looks like the game is mine, old man." "Yep," said Thomas. Took another sip of his beer. "Is that all you have to say?" "Yep," said Thomas. "How about, oh, you outplayed me?" "Do you need me to tell you that?" said Thomas. "A little acknowledgement would be nice." A moment after he finished saying it, Brad found himself cringing, sounding like a petulant child. He was frustrated and angry and disappointed, and knowing all that about himself didn't make any of it less true. Thomas shrugged. "Thought you played to win the game, not for validation." "Oh, give me a break," said Brad. "That line coming from a pro when you compete? I play to win, sure. Well, there's money on the line. And the money goes to the person who gets the W. You play to win the game. You get the money. But I get the feeling you're playing for something else." "What are you talking about?" said Brad. "You play to impress people. That's different from playing to win. That's why you never take the defensive shot." "I just won." "Yep," said Thomas. "But you weren't playing to win. Just because you happen to win doesn't mean you made the right decision." "How the hell does that make any sense?" said Brad. Thomas took a coin out of his pocket. "Here's a hypothetical. Suppose I have a coin. I ask you to call heads or tails on a $1 bet. Now you know that the coin is weighted. It lands on heads 70% of the time. What do you bet on?" "Heads, of course," said Brad. "Now I flip the coin. It comes up tails. Bad luck, Brad. You just lost $1. But did you make the right decision?" "What?" Thomas continues. "If you had called tails, you would have won the bet. Clearly calling tails is the wrong decision, but sometimes you make the wrong decision and get short-term payoffs. That's why the fact that you won doesn't necessarily mean that you made the right decision. And sometimes these things only reveal themselves after you've flipped the coin hundreds of times." "I've played hundreds of games," said Brad. "And that as a pro? Practice games? I play hundreds of games in a week, easy. Maybe 200 games a week depending. And how many times have you made the WBC?" I won the WBC, said Brad. Right, said Thomas. That's the thing about calling tails. Sometimes even if you make the wrong choice, randomness comes up in your favor and you happen to run hot. But in the long run, things don't quite pan out. Brad threw his cue down. So now you're saying that my wins were all due to luck? Not all luck, said Thomas. Like you said, it takes some skill to take a 10% shot and do a 30% shot. A lot of skill, in fact. You've got good hands and a good eye for the ball. But the lust for a cool shot supersedes that. You'd rather fail spectacularly than win through boring play. Fuck you, said Brad. You know what? I actually won the WBC. Maybe I did run hot for just 1 year, but at least I have a championship to my name. You made it to the final 6 times and lost every time. And now your career's done. You're over with. You'll never be a WBC champion, a title which I hold, by the way. You're right, said Thomas. I don't mean to knock the high variance approach. Maybe that's what you want, to win once and then burn out? Yeah, that is what I want, said Brad, annoyed to find himself agreeing with Thomas. What have you done with your life since retirement, old man? Ever done anything wild? I bet I lived more than one night than you have in your entire life. I'm happy with the way I spent my life, said Thomas. No regrets. His eyes softened. Can you say the same? The question should have come as a challenge, but there was something in Thomas's eyes as he looked at Brad that made it feel even worse. Thomas's expression wasn't one of antagonism. It was one of pity. Brad knew deep in the pit of his heart that Thomas wasn't doing it to attack him. And that made it sting even worse. Brad started to say something, but found himself choking on a lump in his throat, and as he reached up and felt weakness on his cheeks, he realized that he was crying. Aw. No, wetness on his cheeks. So I like the little backstories of the patrons. That's pretty awesome. We're probably not going to be doing this. Yep. Oh wait, can we unlock it? Can. I think we can. Where are we at? Can we even go upstairs? Are we stuck down here? Yeah, I think we are. I think this is just like story. Alright, we'll read this one. Then we'll call it. Oh no, this is story, I think. Kishan's footsteps echoed in a way that startled him. Why are his footsteps always so loud? Perhaps it was just the contrast with the surrounding environment, which seemed completely silent, that made his footfalls seem so jarringly loud as he walked along the catwalk. He was on a catwalk. Why was he on a catwalk? There seemed to be a gaping space below. Below him, filled with some sort of mist that he couldn't see through. It was fog-like, and yet despite the fog that lapped at his feet, the air felt so dry. The air was thick here. As he breathed heavily, Kishan felt an overwhelmingly sweet, sickly odor, with the smell of wet or rotting wood, but all he could see around him were steel beams and a concrete path in front of him. Was it rust he was smelling? No, he knew the smell of rust. This was different. This smell was somehow organic, like the smell of a forest after a fresh rainfall. Kishan shivered. Far in the distance, he could see what looked like a building of some sort, so far away that it made the structure he was inside feel almost tunnel-like, as if its only purpose was to convey him to that distant building. He continued walking forward, but as he walked, the building seemed to be growing more and more distant. This quickened his pace. As he walked faster, he could feel himself moving through the thick, stifling air, yet as he looked down, he could see the texture of the catwalk in front of him unchanged, as though he were walking in place. Kishan started to turn backward, but saw only a blinding light. His eyes immediately shut, and when he opened them, he was again facing into the tunnel, with the distant building at the center of his field of view. He tried turning around, but every time he turned to turn his head, his eyes involuntarily shut at the sight of the light, and he was forced to close his eyes or look away, always confronted again with the sight of the small hut when he opened his eyes. His heart pounded violently inside of his chest. The tunnel was so quiet that he could hear his own heartbeat, feel his own pulse inside of his head. Something about this place felt deeply, incredibly wrong. Get back. I have to get back. He tried turning again, and this time found himself unable to even begin rotating his body before his eyes snapped shut, placing him again in the world of darkness until he opened them again and was confronted with the sight of the small hut in the distance, now looking more far away than ever. I have to get back. Kishan kept facing the building and took a step backward. As he placed his foot on the ground, he felt a gust of wind knock him forward. He let out a yelp of terror. Instinctively, his hands reached for the opposite edges of the catwalk as he fell, trying to steady himself for fear of falling off. The catwalk was wide enough that his body didn't land close enough to the edge for that to have been a risk, and yet as he looked toward the edge, he felt a growing sense of dread that there was something down there that would capture him if he allowed it to catch even the smallest hold on him. Almost as he thought it, he felt the sensation of something pressing against his legs. He stumbled to his feet. He ran forward. The hut ahead of him seemed to grow no closer as he ran, but he ran all the same, running not to reach a destination, but to be away from whatever it was that was behind him. Moments ago, his only thought was an overwhelming desire to turn back, a worry that he was now somehow trapped in here. But now that worry was replaced with an overwhelming sense, dread, that propelled him forward. He'd been pushed forward by something. Something was behind him. Kishan leaned forward and ran. He was no runner. He often found himself winded when forced to climb more than one flight of stairs, and yet he ran and felt no sense of tiredness holding him back, no need to catch his breath. Maybe it was the thick air here that somehow never allowed him to run out of breath. Maybe it was the fear that whatever was behind him that was strong. Kishan felt the air stinging at his eyes as he ran, but now he was running so fast that the thick air felt like a hot wind on his face. Tears began running down his face, but he couldn't find it in him to raise a hand to wipe at his eyes. That would mean slowing his sprint. So he closed his eyes, fully aware that he was running down a catwalk that had no handrail on either side. At this point, he didn't care. He ran and ran. Long after the tears of his face had dried, Kishan realized that he could hear only the sound of his own feet as they struck the catwalk. He couldn't even hear the rush of wind, even as it seemed to buffet his face. There were no sounds of annoyance or anything pursuing him. Anyone or anything pursuing him. Perhaps there was no pursuer at all. He allowed himself to open his eyes and look down. He looked over his shoulder. This time, there was no blinding light, only a distant glow like the light at the end of a long tunnel. In a way, it was the light at the end of a long tunnel, and observing the dim glow of the distant light, dim glow, Kishan suddenly realized just how far he had run. He turned around and saw the building right in front of him. It had windows that were covered with the same fog that covered the ground around him. Kishan reached for the door handle. He half expected it to be locked and felt a moment of panic as the handle bowed under the pressure of his hand. Was he ready to face whatever was on the other side of that door? Did he even want to enter? Did he have a choice? What was it that awaited him inside of this building? Answers or more baffling questions? Kishan looked down at the tunnel and suddenly felt cold. Whatever this place was, he needed to escape it, and the only form of egress that seemed available to him was the door of this building. He leaned on the handle and felt the door swing open. Okay. Oh, now it's open. Okay. Righty. Oh, no, obviously we can't go. We gotta go upstairs. Okay. I guess we'll continue on. Or at least this might be it, right? Probably it. Who's the... Oh. Continue, yes. What are we at? 40 minutes almost? Ugh. That might be it for this part. I think I can save right here. Or coming up I can save, I'm pretty sure. Save. Okay, I can save. So we're going to call it a part, and then I will see you all next time on more Necrobarista. Have a good day, everybody, and as always, take care.